Alrighty, guys, we did finish last season 7-0 in our final 7 college basketball tier package bets on my website. As most of you know, college basketball starts today. So before we go ahead and elaborate a little bit more about that, I just want to take a quick timeout and welcome you to our NBA Part 1 video here today for Monday, November 7th, 2022. My name is Brock Page, and I do sports picks for free right here on YouTube. I also sell my personal sports bets on patreon.com/BrockPage. And once again, guys, I went 7-0 in my final 7 college basketball tier package bets last season. Just remember, guys, if you sign up for that package here today, you're going to get access to that membership for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus here, guys, I'm going to include all my cheaper memberships for you absolutely free. And I'll include a link for that package in the description section below. Can't believe it. College basketball is here already. But with that, we're talking about NBA in this video, so let's go ahead and dive into some free content. We're going to start off with the Wizards at the Hornets, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Charlotte's -2 at home, totals 214.5. And even though the Hornets are struggling, they haven't been awful on defense. They're actually in the top 10 in guarding the field goal, and they're limiting their competition to just 33% shooting from three-land. And when it comes to offensive production, Kelly Oubre started all 10 games this year for Charlotte, and he's averaging 17 points a night. Meanwhile, P.J. Washington's getting over 15.5 points a game himself. They're facing a Washington team on the other side who lost 5 out of their last 6. And they're actually going to be in the second of a back-to-back here tonight. Now, the Wizards also may have to go to work without their leading scorer, Bradley Beal. He's currently listed as questionable. And much to my surprise here, guys, the Wizards' biggest issue this season is their offensive production. They're actually one of the worst scoring teams in the league right now. When it comes to the injury report, once again, Bradley Beal is questionable for Washington, so that's not going to help them offensively if he doesn't play. Meanwhile, on the other side for Charlotte, Dennis Smith is questionable. Gordon Hayward's out. When it comes to the total, Charlotte went 5-1 to the under in their last 6. Meanwhile, the Wizards saw their last 2 straight stay under the total themselves. Unders against the likes of Memphis and Brooklyn. I'm going to lean towards Charlotte, -2, under 214.5. Next contest, it is going to be Rockets at the Magic, 7:15 Eastern tip-off. Orlando's the 4-point favorite at home, totals 225. And even though I typically don't like laying points with Orlando, they have done a nice job covering this point spread here lately. They're 4-1 against the number in their last 5. And they're doing a real nice job of rebounding the basketball this year. As a matter of fact, these guys are in the top 5 in the league right now in defensive boards per game. Now, Wendell Carter Jr., he's getting just about double-digit rebounds a night. He's also scoring 16 points a game offensively. And speaking of scoring, it's the youngster Paolo Banchero who's leading the team in points per contest. Banchero is averaging 22 a game. Now, Orlando's facing a Houston club who lost their last 6 straight. And they have just 1 win all season. They're also dead last in the league in shooting from the field. Now, injury-wise, Green, Washington, and Smith are questionable. Tate is out. Meanwhile, for the Magic on the other side, Fultz, Anthony, and Mo Wagner, they're sitting this one out here today as well. When it comes to the number, well, the Magic saw their last 4 straight all get over the number. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, Houston saw overs recently against the likes of Minnesota, Phoenix, and Portland. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Orlando -4 over 225. Next contest, it is going to be Thunder at the Pistons, 7:30 Eastern start time. OKC's the 2-point favorite, totals 223. Now, the Thunder's been getting great offensive production out of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's scoring over 30 points a game, and he's drilling over 96% of his free throws. Meanwhile, Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, he's drilling nearly 43% of his three-pointers himself. Now, they're facing a Detroit squad on the other side who lost 8 out of their last 9. And they play some pretty bad defense. They're allowing 119 points a night, They currently rank in the bottom 3 in defensive boards. Now, injury-wise, Burks is out. Duren is questionable. Meanwhile, for Oklahoma City, Pokusevski's sitting this one out here today with a shoulder. When it comes to the scoring in this one, OKC saw unders recently against the likes of Milwaukee, the Clippers, and Minnesota. Meanwhile, Detroit saw their last 3 straight stay under the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward Oklahoma City -2, under 223. Next ball game I have for you, it is going to be Pelicans at the Pacers. That'll be a 7:45 Eastern start time. And real quick, this is a huge slate. Every team in the league is playing tonight. We have 15 games. So massive slate here today. That's why we have 2 NBA videos queued up here for you. But anyway, Pelicans, Pacers, 7:45 East. Oh, and the reason why I said that, because we're getting these kind of funky start times. But anyway, New Orleans is -5, totals 235. Now, the Pels are doing a terrific job of getting to the basket. They're averaging over 118 points a game, and they're in the top 5 in shooting from the field. Zion Williamson's making over 52% of his field goals, and he leads the team with 22 points a night. Meanwhile, Brandon Ingram's drilling 50% of his shots from downtown. Now, they're facing a Pacer team who's dead last in the league in guarding the three-pointer. They're actually letting their opponents make 41% of their shots from beyond the arc against them. And no real surprise here, guys. This team's in the bottom 5 in the league in points allowed, really struggling on defense. Now, injury-wise, Daniel Tice is out. Neesmith and Nembhard are questionable. Meanwhile, for the Pelicans on the other side, Lewis and Liddell are out for them. When it comes to the total, the Pels saw all of their games get over the total this year except for 2. Meanwhile, for the Pacers on the other side, plenty of overs for them. They saw overs recently against the likes of Brooklyn, Washington, and Detroit. I'm going to lean toward the Pelicans -5, over 235. Next ball game I have for you, it is going to be Suns at the Sixers, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Phoenix is the 2-point favorite on the road, totals 215. Now, the Suns did get the W in 6 out of their last 7, and they played some incredibly tough defense. They're allowing just 103 points a game, and they're in the top 5 in defending the field goal. Now, offensively, Devin Booker's leading the club with 27 points a game. Meanwhile, DeAndre Ayton, he's averaging just about 8 rebounds a game himself. He actually ranks 2nd in scoring on the roster. Now, they're facing a Philly team on the other side of things who isn't quite lighting up the scoreboard themselves. As a matter of fact, they're in the bottom 10 in the league right now in points per game. In addition to that, they're also dead last in the association in offensive rebounding. Now, injury-wise, Embiid and House, they're listed as questionable right now. Meanwhile, for the Suns on the other side, Payne is questionable. Wainwright is out. When it comes to the total, Phoenix saw their last 3 straight stay under the posted number. Meanwhile, Philly saw unders recently against the likes of New York, Toronto, and Indiana. I'm going to lean toward Phoenix -2, under 215. Next matchup I have for you, it is going to be Bucks at the Hawks. And that'll be an 8:15 Eastern start time. Milwaukee's -4, totals 226. Now, I typically lean toward Atlanta at home here, but it looks like Trae Young is banged up a little bit with a lower leg injury. Plus, Milwaukee's been perfect this season. But anyway, Trae Young, he's officially listed as questionable on the injury report. Now, as a team, the Hawks failed to cover in 4 out of their last 7, and they are having some issues on defense. They're actually giving up over 115 points a game. And like I said earlier, they're facing an undefeated Milwaukee squad who's arguably the best defensive team in the game right now. They're actually leading the NBA in defensive field goal percentage. And they're also allowing fewer points per contest than any other club in the league. So those 2 factors in mind, I've got to say they're probably the best defensive team in the league right now. I would say probably Phoenix right behind them. But anyway, offensively, Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's averaging over 32 points a game, along with a dozen rebounds. Meanwhile, Grayson Allen, he's been their deep ball threat. He's making just about 41% of his 3 balls. When it comes to the injury report, Joe Ingles is out for the Bucks. Meanwhile, for Atlanta on the other side, once again, Trae Young is questionable with a leg injury. When it comes to the total, Atlanta went 4-0 to the under in their last 4 straight. Meanwhile, Milwaukee saw unders this year against the likes of New York, Orlando, and Houston. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Milwaukee -4, under 226. And looks like we're skipping Trailblazers Heat. We'll have to cover that on our part 2 video. I'm not sure why I didn't include that in my notes. But anyway, next and final matchup, it is going to be Raptors at the Bulls, 8:45 East. Now, Chicago's -3.5, totals 221. Despite being favored here, Drummond, Levine, and Kobe White, they're all listed as questionable to play here tonight for Chicago. Now, the Bulls have also dropped 4 out of their last 6. They're having a tough time shooting from the field. They're actually in the bottom 10 in offensive field goal percentage. They're facing a Toronto team on the other side who allows only 106 points a game. They're in the top 3 in the league in defensive boards. Now, when it comes to offensive production, Gary Trent Jr. is averaging over 18 points a game, and he makes 48% of his field goals. Meanwhile, OG Anunoby's dropping over 40% of his 3 balls as well. When it comes to the injury list, Birch is questionable, Siakam is out. Meanwhile, for the Bulls on the other side, once again, Drummond, Levine, and White are questionable for them. When it comes to the total, Chicago saw 5 out of their last 8 stay under the number. Meanwhile, Toronto saw unders against the likes of the Sixers, Heat, and this very Chicago team. I'm going to lean toward Toronto +3.5, keeping this one close, under 221. And with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and jump into our quick pick recap. I like Charlotte -2, under 214.5. Give me Orlando -4, over 225. Oklahoma City -2, under 223. New Orleans Pelicans -5, over 235. And just a quick reminder here, guys, that college basketball starts here today. And I finished the year last year 7-0, my final 7 college basketball tier package bets on my website. Give me Phoenix -2, under 215. Milwaukee -4, under 226. And with my next and final free pick for the video, I'm going to lean toward Toronto +3.5, under 221.